Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is the podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. This is my 68th episode, and I interviewed comedian Stephanie Weber. We talked about so many fun things. We talked about traveling, we talked about religion, we talked about dating people in comedy, what to do and not to do, and like a ton of other things. It was a really fun conversation. She's a blast. Stephanie is a cast member at the Lincoln Lodge, and she'll be performing with them on Saturdays starting in September at their new residency at the Under the Gun Theater in Chicago. She also produces CHuC, a Chicago underground comedy, which is every Tuesday night at the Beach Kitchen. She's also a contributor to Reductress and Whiskey Journal, and you can follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Steph_Eloise. That's STEPH_ELOISE. Sleeping with Sarah is happy to be part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. We're also brought to you by Audible.com. You can go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I'd like to recommend Yes Please by Amy Poehler. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'd also like to plug KeVita, which is an awesome probiotic drink. They rock. My favorite is the mojito. It's like great low-calorie thing. Goes great with vodka. Fantastic. If you like the podcast, please check us out at sleepingwithsarah.com and subscribe and like us and rate us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. And let's get started with the show. Sleeping with Sarah. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and I'm here with my guest, Stephanie Weber.
Hello.
Hello.
I just drank that probiotic drink you gave me. KeVita.
Oh, you mean KeVita?
KeVita. It's delicious. I start every podcast with KeVita. It's like sparkling, so I'm a little afraid I'm going to burp.
I think that they actually probably make really good mixers because they're like super healthy, like low calorie, all that stuff. So yeah. It'd be really good to mix some of them. They've got one that's like a mojito that's like really good.
Oh, I love mojitos. I was wondering, do people mix LaCroix?
I don't know.
Cause like,
but LaCroix like has like no flavor though. Like
it's supposed to have like a light flavor,
but it's such a light flavor that it would just
it'd be like a vodka soda, but with LaCroix.
LaCroix. It sounds like a fancy. I feel like they'd have a fancy cocktail name for it, right? It'd be like Le Cosmopolitan.
Yeah, you just did it. You just did it. That's $1 million idea.
Yeah. Okay, LaCroix, you guys need to contact me and pay me for this.
Sponsorship. Yeah, that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't tried that, but I will.
I was thinking about it.
You know what? Sometimes I'll do a cucumber vodka and water at the bar because it keeps you hydrated, but you still get drunk.
Cucumber
flavor vodka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that like any cheaper or more expensive?
No, it's like what I think the what is it? The one that the girl from the Housewives, whatever, her brand, Skinny something or
Skinny Girl.
Mm-hmm. Skinny Girl has one.
Yeah.
And then Effin' Vodka has one.
Oh, okay.
So
that sounds good.
Yes, we're getting to specifics, and clearly I know how to drink.
Yeah,
yes.
I love water, so let's just like really dive into it.
How'd you sleep last night, Steph?
I slept pretty well, considering I didn't have any tea before bed, and I usually do, and it helps me sleep. Like I usually have either, depending on the kind of sleep I want to have, I usually will have like a chamomile if I just need to like wind down. But if I'm like, I need to get really knocked out, or I'm going to have like a great night of sleep ahead of me, I take like a valerian root tea.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's different types of tea. So you're very much with the natural things. So I talk to a lot of people that take pills or things. And I like that it's almost like the tea is almost
like a potion. It's like
it's a potion. I'm a witch. It's a potion.
Just a tiny witch in my little kitchen. I have a cauldron. Yeah, I discovered valerian root tea a couple years ago, and it's awesome. Especially in the winter, I love it.
Valerian root just makes me think of Game of Thrones.
It sounds
because
very...
it sounds because High Valeria, Valerian steel. It just that's an actual like thing in Game of Thrones, and we're like in the midst of it right now. So it's like in my head, I'm just thinking.
I only just watched Game of Thrones for the first time because I had to do a show at the Laugh Factory where I had to play Daenerys.
Targaryen.
I knew nothing, and I had to get really caught up.
Good. And that's such a good part. That's so fun.
I know. My cousins were making fun of me because I was like, I don't know anything about it. And they're like, and you're playing the fan favorite. So then I started kind of fucking with them. And I was like, no, I got caught up. Like she gives birth to dragons, right? And then my cousin who's really into it was like, no, that's not what happens. She was given these eggs, and then
yes, and then she can't be burnt. You know, she has like a billion titles. You know, and it was fun. But the thing is, I held back on Game of Thrones too. I was season 5, and I had an audition. It was for Under the Gun. Okay. Under the Gun had auditions for a Game of Thrones parody improv thing. Okay. And so I was auditioning for that. Yeah. And because of that, I started watching it. And I was only in I was only 5 episodes in when I did my audition. And then I didn't do the show, but it was still like a good... and then that was a jumping off point. Yeah. And I really got into it. And
it's interesting. It follows a lot of the tropes of that genre. Like, I was really into Dune when I was, in middle school.
I don't know what Dune is.
Dune, it's so similar to Dune. Dune is the OG sci-fi fantasy. It's like, it's on a planet, and it's like a desert planet, and water's a scarcity, and then you have, like, the Fremen, who are, like, the Dothraki.
So is it kind of like a Tatooine planet?
Yeah, kind of, and there's all these, like, different political dynasties, and, like, all these, I don't know, it's like, and then there's like some witchcraft in it, and then there's like giant worms, like it's a whole thing.
Giant worms, I think of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's like that, there's like these sandworms.
And like the CGI is just the same, right? It's just like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's like not great, but
could you imagine how much money they would spend to make something look that bad back in the day?
Well, I mean, every time you watch, even if you watch something now that was made in like 1999 with CGI, it looks dated. You know? Even Avatar looks weirdly dated now, and that was only a couple years ago. Yeah. Technology's just, like, too much. But I also avoided Game of Thrones for a long time because I did improv, too, and everyone I knew at the time that it was about to premiere, like, got really into the books, and they were all the worst people. And I associated Game of Thrones with its fans at that time, like, before the show premiered. And I'm like, I'm not watching that shit. Like, the worst people I know watch it. You know?
Well, the thing is, I wanted to read, because I like reading books, and I try to read books before I see something.
Yeah, books are cool.
Yeah, books are awesome. But I tried to read it, and it was just very dry. It was just too... I would just keep falling asleep while I was reading. So it has to be interesting. Well, in general, I usually have to read books either...
That's a very hot take, that a book has to be interesting.
Yeah.
Very hot take.
It does. A book has to be interesting. I mean, amazing. Like, I mean, who knew? Yeah. But there are so many kind of dry books out there, that just go into so much detail out of everything, and we don't need to...
I mean, fantasy does that, I feel like. Like, fantasy and sci-fi, fantasy, sci-fi, and, like 18th century English literature. It's all just, like, so much world building.
And I know, like, a lot of it comes from, like, Tolkien and things like that, and, like, people are very fascinated with the way he built the worlds, you know, and creating languages and all that. And I love the mythology of it all. Like, I think that's really fascinating, how they can build these entire worlds in their minds.
Dune's like that, too. Just shouts out to Dune.
Yeah, shouts out to Dune.
Yeah. They got some languages and shit.
Yeah, I think that's all very cool, like, the fact that they actually create a language, not just words that mean this, but an entire language, and like I think that's really cool. Like, I don't know if I could do that. That's
it's definitely insane.
And people speak like people can speak Klingon. People can speak, you know.
Duolingo has like a Valyrian course on it. I noticed
for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
What? I'm gonna probably check that out.
It has like Klingon and Valyrian.
That's insane. But that's very cool. Like, do you speak any other languages?
Yes, I speak Spanish, and I've been learning Irish.
Like
Gaelic.
Gaelic.
Yeah, Irish Gaelic.
The only thing is, I know my name is in Gaelic is Sorka.
Sorka. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I
don't
went.
know what Stephanie would be.
Because I did a study abroad at theater school and in England, and one of the girls was from Ireland, and we had 2 girls in our group named Sarah, so she went by Sorka.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did she speak Irish too?
Yeah.
I meet so few Irish people that can speak it.
Well, she grew up
in a Gaeltacht.
She had 2 different. I forget what city she grew up in.
Yeah,
but she grew up like. She had like a weird accent because she had her mom and dad weren't together, so she would go, one was kind of in the country and one was kind of in the city, so her accent was a little different.
Yeah.
And they taught her about that too. She's like, well, you got to pick a way to do your accent if you want to, like, it's like
strange. Yeah.
It's so fucked up how many things like they'll tell you with auditioning and with like being a performer, being like, hey, you have to do all these different things.
Yeah, I'm like not about it anymore. I feel like when I was younger, I very much would like, because I didn't really know who I was yet as, a performer and stuff, and I would have done anything that like any agent told me or whatever. And even a month ago, I had like a pretty bad meeting with an agent, and I kept thinking like, wow, like 5 or more years ago, I would have been devastated. And I walked out of that being like, we would not have worked well together. Like, this was not a good match. Like, it's just, it's just a difference of like who you are and what you want to do, and that feels good. That makes me feel good.
That is good to not come out of a meeting and be like, no, you wouldn't have done that for me either. So
yes,
it's like, exactly, and realizing that's
we would not have done anything for each other. Like it's like this. It's a mutual relationship. I feel like a lot of times, especially when I was much younger, I had an agent as soon as I graduated from college, and it was not a great experience because she like did not understand me. And to be fair, like I didn't know enough about myself even to be like, well, these are the auditions I should be going on, and you're not sending me to those. So she wanted me to be like her ethnically ambiguous talent. And because like I'm Cuban, so she was just like, oh, that's in my head now. Like, you can do all those. And I, like, that's not what they're casting.
Yeah. And also, like, that doesn't look, like, you don't look like that, like, I mean.
Well, when they're casting for, like, a Latina girl, they are asking for a type. They're asking for, like, a, like, very traditionally Mexican looking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. You don't like for, and I've also in the past have been. I don't know if I still have it. What I think I have not ethnically ambiguous. I think multi-ethnic look is what I say. Because if I'm really tan, I can look Native American. But again, nowadays.
I can see it. I mean, I can see it. When you said that, I was like, I could see you going to those auditions.
Yeah. But then I'm also, like, in Chinese. So, like...
That's what I was about to say. I was like, I would think that you were something Asian.
Yeah.
And you are?
I'm in Chinese. So it's, I think my dad's mom or something, it was the parentage, one was Spanish, one was Chinese.
Oh, yes, that's why you have like darker features and lighter skin.
Yeah. And so, and apparently granddaughters take after their paternal grandmothers. So my grandmother really looked Asian. So
really?
I probably, I don't know. It's weird, but yeah. So it's it's a different thing. It kind of comes out like when I smile, really.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I look a lot like my grandmother, my Cuban grandmother.
So are you from like? So how like are your parents from?
My mom is from Cuba. Yeah, and my dad is from here, South Side. So like half South Side.
My dad is from Panama, and my mom is from here as well. So
wow, I had no idea that you were so Hispanic.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Technically, my dad's parents were working for the U.S. government. They were like working.
I see.
There, but it was. I'm actually very interested. We're going. He hasn't been back since like the 80s.
Yeah,
because of the whole like. U.S. owning it and everything changing and all that. The canal.
That was 100 years ago.
It was the canal.
Go ahead.
And so we're going for the first time in January. It's like his 50th high school reunion. So we're all like going.
In Panama? Mm-hmm. That's really fun.
And so I'm looking forward to it. Although I am still a little mad at my dad. And I've said this on the podcast before, but I'll say it again. Because he never spoke to around me when I was a kid. And if he had, I'd be fluent. And
it's a struggle. Like
I can speak a little. Yo hablo un poco español. Mi padre es de Panama. I sound like I can. Like if I can read it, I can sound it. And that's the same with Italian.
And you can probably understand it and everything.
Yeah, I can understand bits. You know, like
enough to get by.
Yeah, like I could probably figure out Despacito if I was listening to the words and not the beat.
It's sexy, man. No, my mom obviously was just like, I'm just gonna speak to her in Spanish, and then like those language studies were not out when I was a kid yet, you know. And my dad was like, I think it's going to be really confusing. And then my dad was like, you really shouldn't do that. And then he tried to discourage my mom from doing it. So when I was a toddler, they stopped. Like, they stopped speaking to me in Spanish because my dad was convinced. And then when I was about 7, all of those studies came out. And my mom was like, oh, shit. And then my mom started trying to teach me Spanish again. And I was, like, a brat about it.
Yeah.
Like, she would, like, put up all these signs in Spanish in my room. And I would just be like, I don't want to know anything.
Well, I took an anthropology language class in college, and I learned that from the ages of like 2 to 5, a child's capacity, because your brain's growing so quickly, they can like learn like 4 languages and know them for life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's why like there are some things I know, like I'll always be able to count in Spanish. I'll always be able to do basic stuff, you know?
Yeah, right.
Because I learned that like a really young age. And we did like Muzzy and stuff like that.
Oh, we did Muzzy too. Yeah. Right. And like my grandparents always spoke Spanish, but because I wasn't like encouraged to do it when I was a kid, I'm almost still like stunted when I'm around my family, which is a really weird thing.
Oh, so you see, my dad speaks it around his siblings, because in Panama it was very much Spanglish, so you go from Spanish to English and back.
Absolutely.
And that's why one of my cousins, so I have an uncle that lives in Puerto Rico, and my cousin who grew up there, when I went to visit, like, she would do that and not realize it, like, hanging out with her and her friends, they would, like, be having, in the middle of a sentence, say a word in Spanish just because it's easier to get across the point, and they don't even realize it, and that's kind of how Panama was. I think at the time they had, like, a Spanish-speaking side and an English-speaking side, but, I mean, they were all fluent.
Yeah.
And I actually don't even know if he went to school, if his education was in Spanish or English. I don't know, actually. But I should ask him that. But yeah, so have you been, well, I mean, I know they've only let people back into Cuba. Have you been to Cuba
Yeah,
since?
I went to Cuba actually this year for the first time. My mom has not been back since she left. So I went, and it was great. I only went for a couple days because I thought I had to be back for something. And so, like, I booked the flight and then realized I didn't. And I should have extended it because I would have loved to see more. But I was only there for, like, 4 days. And it was really cool. It was really great.
I mean, it's definitely on my list of places. I mean, it's kind of gorgeous, amazing that you... Yeah. I mean, all these places are... I mean, I love to travel. I think I just... Lately, I've been trying to travel to English-speaking countries so I can still do comedy there. Because... have you ever done any comedy in Spanish?
No. I made a joke on Facebook because I kind of think it's silly how many comedians don't just like take a vacation, and so people will say like, I'm going to Minneapolis, can I do all these shows here? I'm going to Toronto, can I do all these shows here? Which I totally get, but I'm also like, I'm a huge believer in balance, and I just think like you'll only be better if you take a week off. You're not going to get worse. Yeah, you take a week off and you go enjoy Ireland or whatever it is. So I made a joke on Facebook. I'll be in Cuba. Does anyone know any shows I can get on? And almost everyone got it, except for one person who was like, messaged me secretly. I was like, I do know somebody who like knows somebody or went to this comedy club when they were in Havana. And I was like, there's no way. She's like, do you want me to connect you? And I'm like, no. There is no way in hell I'm going to do comedy when I'm in Havana. Like, if I had maybe a month, like maybe I would have tried it. I've never tried to translate any of my jokes. I don't think they would translate. I don't think that my way of speaking would, you know? Like, it's just like, it's a different culture. I don't know.
Well, also just figuring out your own rhythm, speaking as a person, you know, in another language. It's like your own, you know. Yeah,
and I don't, like, I mean, even when I was doing jokes in Canada, I was like, oh, my jokes are, like, pretty American. Or I've done jokes, like, you know, for, like, mostly, the one time I did Parlor Card, there were, like, 15 audience members from different countries, and everyone on that show, we were like, this is so weird. And it was like a big group of people were from the UK, and then like a small group of people from South America. It was just a weird night where like they all just came. It was so strange. And a bunch of us were like, damn, my jokes are like very in my culture, very American, and I had no idea. And it's not to say like people didn't enjoy themselves, but also British audiences do not laugh.
No, they decide.
They smile.
No, from what I understand, like they decide within the first 15 seconds, like if they like you or not, and like. I've heard that doing comedy over there is very different, but again, I think that's where a lot of people have gotten to, where like the idea of like doing new hours, you know, and I get that we have people that do that here, you know, but what I mean is they would have Edinburgh Fringe, and so every year comedians would want a new hour for the Fringe Fest.
Yeah,
and so,
and they're into story, like
yeah.
That's what I've heard. Sorry for any comedians from America going over there right now without a one-man show.
We know a lot of people. I feel like I know at least a handful of people that are there.
I vaguely know of some. I'm not as like in tune with like what's going on, but I do know a couple that are. But from people that I know that have done shows there, like they're like, yeah, they want like a real one-man show. Like they want a real like start to finish 5-point structure show. They want theater, you know.
They want lighting cues. And they want special effects. They want sound.
They want you to have a story. You know, they're like not as into going to the Fringe and being like, here's a joke, here's a joke, here's a joke, here's a joke. You know, they want your set to have some meaning. You know, of course, I've never done it, so I can't really say, but. That would be cool. That'd be, you know.
Yeah.
I used to intern for Baby Wants Candy, and they would do it every year.
I remember them, yeah.
Yeah, they would do it every year, and they would always be like, we would totally love for you to do it. It'd be like a month in Scotland. Like, you have to pay for the airfare. And they would always ask me like 2 weeks before, so the airfare was like $1,500. I'm like, fuck
why don't you ask, like, when I could actually get a decent ticket?
Yeah. So they asked me to do that like 2 years in a row, and I was like, absolutely, I can't, you guys. Yeah. Like, no way. And they were just so disorganized like that, so they would always do everything like really last minute. But I wish I had, like, looking back, I was like, I couldn't have afforded it, but it would have been cool if I could have. Yeah,
I've been there during Fringe, but I wasn't performing at the time. I was just traveling.
That would have been fun. Yeah.
I used to go on these trips back when I had a real job. When I could afford it, I would, when I wasn't spending money on web series and other ridiculous stuff, but stuff that I love, I would go on trips. And so one year I went 3 weeks to Europe by myself, and then I went 3 weeks to Southeast Asia by myself.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, yeah. And if you haven't, I definitely recommend to people, like, travel by yourself, because the great thing...
I think so, too, yeah. I have fun doing it.
What's great is you get to do what you want when you want. Like, and there's nobody to be like, hey, I don't want to go to this monument at 8 a.m. or, hey, I don't want to go to this thing. You get to choose everything you want to do.
Or find, like, people that like the same things you do, because I'm very much, like... When I travel, I love to see everything that I can, you know, like, hit up the tourist spots, do whatever, go all over the place.
You're there.
Exactly,
like,
you're there.
Like,
when are you going to be again?
Am I going to go to Beijing and not go to the Great Wall of China? Like,
right,
like, come on.
Exactly. Like, and sometimes when traveling with comedians just, like, around the country, I get really hesitant about it because comedians aren't, like, awesome.
I feel like they want to be, like, so unaffected by everything. They'd be, like, too cool for school.
Right. And I'm like, no, let's go to this museum. Like, wake up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, they just sleep forever. And Deanna Ortiz and I went to Nashville, and that was the best, because she was the same way. Like, we were both like, we're going to have brunch at this restaurant because we've heard it's awesome. Like, we went to, like, the most Instagrammed restaurant in Nashville or something like that. It was delicious. I can't remember. Oh, shit. I can't remember what it's called. Something biscuits.
It might not have been good. Just the food looked good.
Oh, the food was so good. No, the food was delicious. It was really good. We went to, like, the Tennessee State Museum, which was super weird.
Did you go to that place that has the chocolate thingy? What is it called? Oh, man. It starts with an M. It's like Moo. It's not...
That does not sound familiar.
But it's like this. It's like it's been around for like 100 years or something. It's like this old, like, or since like the 1920s.
Candy store.
It's like a chocolatey candy store, and it's like a certain. I can't think of the word of it. It's like a certain brand. I'll look it up. Goo.
That doesn't sound familiar.
It's something weird like that, but it'd been around since like the 20s or maybe earlier.
We did get pralines at like a little candy shop downtown, like right on the strip.
Yeah.
Where all the Nashville like honky tonk bars are. And that was so much fun. Like we had so much fun, and that's my ideal. So if any comedians want to travel that way, I'm down, but not really. I didn't also travel a lot when I was like younger. Like in college and stuff, and I really regret it. Like I wish I had. So I think also right now I'm feeling more restless, or feeling more wanderlusty.
I definitely get that wanderlust feeling too. Like I I feel very fortunate that I've been to a lot of places and gotten to see a lot of things.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But I mean, and sometimes I think I forget that. I mean, it seems like almost a different lifetime ago that I was like traveling a lot.
Did you study abroad at all? Mm-hmm. Oh, you said you went to school in the UK?
Yeah, I did a study abroad at British American Drama Academy.
I know someone else that did that. What year did you do it?
Who do you know? Like, when was
Ashley Marie Hicks?
No.
Okay.
But I did it, and we did a study. It was in Oxford, and we stayed at Balliol College.
That's so cool.
And it was really cool because that's what I really realized, because I'd been to England the summer before, but it was the first time I'd been overseas, like, for a long time by myself, and I didn't know anyone. Like, my college went to Moscow School for the Arts if you were a BFA acting, but I was a BA.
What school did you go to?
Northern Illinois.
Oh, my parents met there.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. There's like a Meisner acting program there, so I went to that. And, but all the BFA actors got to go to Moscow, and I was like, well, they didn't let, it was a very big thing with the BAs and BFAs. It's just BS, but whatever.
Yeah, more like BS.
I know. But anyways, I was like, well, I'm going to just find my own study abroad program. So I looked it up.
That's so smart.
I auditioned, and I got in.
That's exactly what the person I know did, too.
And I went. It was such a fun summer. It was really great. What was really awesome is we had 8 hours a day of like theater classes and different clowning, and that's where I started liking comedy. Yeah, realizing that because I was in serious school a lot, like serious school, serious Meisner, like serious.
Yeah, the Meisner is very serious,
very intense. Yeah, and it was in the clowning class that I really realized.
Clowning is dope, though.
I was like with Mick Baumfather. It was really fucking great, and I was like, oh yeah, like I could do this, and that's where I started. And then from there, when I came back there, I started doing improv and coming to the city to do improv.
Oh yeah, because it's not that far. My study abroad was Second City. I did comedy studies. Oh. So, which was an amazing experience. The best experience I've ever had. For sure.
Where'd you go?
I went to North Park University.
Where's that?
It's all the way north Chicago. So I've been doing comedy since I was 19 because I went to school. It's like between Lawrence and Foster and Kimball and Kedzie. And so it's like a bus ride away from the old Annoyance training center. Yeah. So I used to take classes at Annoyance. And
the one at Uptown.
Yeah, that's where I used to go, and then I got an internship at I.O., and I worked in the box office and all that. And then I did comedy studies my junior year, and it was amazing. Like, I used to joke, like, it's like my study abroad is the Sedgwick stop, because that's all it was. I just took the Brown Line down.
That's great.
And all these people, it was 25 people from all over the country, and they came from all over, except for Shannon Knoll, who was going to Columbia. We were in it together.
That's great.
There were like 3 people from Columbia, and also elsewise everyone was from everywhere else. But people would always be like, wait, why are, like, people in the classes would be like, you guys are already here. Like, you guys could just take class at Second City. And it's like, yeah, we know, but, like, this is college. It's like, and it was the best training I've ever gotten. It was like great. A graduate program, you know, and then like after that I had to go back to regular theater and it sucked. But like sometimes I, you know, as much as I love it and I met like some of my very best friends there, I'm still like, yeah, but it would have been invaluable if I could have found a way to like go to Europe or you know study in India or something.
I mean the thing is, I think, I mean, it depends. Like, I mean, you can still go and experience, you know, like, it's just, I think it's also just feels, I don't know. Doing the Europe thing was the reason. One of the reason I really loved it is because my birthday's in the summer, and I never in my life had like school going on.
Yeah, during your birthday.
Yeah, during my birthday. So it was like a very
got
cool.
to bring in treats.
Yeah, and so we actually got to have a big thing because we were in like it was like a Friday, and it was like we were in class, and then we could drink there because we during the age 18 there, and so it was my first like real like. Hey, like, you have a big, you know, because in college, everyone had the big birthday things where you had, like, 30 people, you know, so that was, like, a very fun experience.
So my birthday is at the very beginning of the school year, because it's in September.
Oh. Were you, like, a cutoff? Like, were you...
Yeah, I'm a cutoff. So I got left behind. So I was always, like, older.
I was always youngest.
Yeah, so, I was always older and very resentful of it because I was like, I'm fucking smarter than everyone. Like, I was always that person like, God, Mom, why couldn't you have done something? But in college, so my 21st birthday was when I was in comedy studies, and I wasn't good enough friends with anybody to really yet to have, like, done a thing. So my 21st birthday was so lame to the point that I'm like, maybe, like, my 30th birthday, I should be, like, we're celebrating like it's my 21st. I literally played apples to apples with my roommate and his girlfriend and bought a bottle of wine. That was it. And I think we went to bed early.
Okay.
That was my 21st birthday. It was because it was only like a week into the semester.
And so you didn't know anybody. Oh, yeah.
And I could have like hung out at my college, but it was so weird to like be a train ride, because I didn't live on campus either. Like my roommate and I lived in Lincoln Square. So to be a train ride away from the school that I was not at that semester, and it was really strange. Like my best friend in college had like a weird issue with it, where she's like, "You're like here. You're not like not here, but you're hanging out with all these new friends."
Oh, you know, and there's like this weird,
right?
Yeah, that's a college argument.
That's a college argument. Yeah, you have like friends that aren't me.
Like, wait, what's going on? Are you hanging out without me? Like,
yeah, and I was like, I didn't know how to handle it either, because she was going to do a study abroad the next semester in Egypt. So I was like,
Egypt.
Yeah, but I was like, you're about to go do that though, and like this is mine. Like this is my equivalent, and it was, but it was also like, yeah, I am still here. So I'd invite her to hang out with all these comedians, which like I think everyone knows. When you have like a non-comedian friend hanging out with comedians, they don't like it.
Yeah, muggles don't like it.
They don't like it. They're like, this is annoying. Everyone sucks. They're loud and they drink a lot. You know,
yeah. Unless you're in like musicians, and like musicians and comedians, I think can work.
No, I dated a musician for 2 years and he hated it.
I dated one for a while as well. Well, yeah, I think he tolerated it, but no. I think he was also had a little jealousy issue too. He always thought all the improv guys were trying to hook up with me,
which might be true.
Which is probably true.
I mean,
probably.
Improv dudes is horny.
Yeah, I mean, I did improv for a while, for much longer, you know, until
When did you do it? Did we overlap at all?
I think possibly. I think we possibly did overlap. I'm trying to think. I mean, there are things I think that we probably did overlap. Like, did you, was Thomas Middleditch in Baby Wants Candy when you did it? Was he?
He had left for New York, but I remember him coming back to do a show, and he lost his phone backstage and had a huge fit about it.
Oh.
That's my memory. That's my one memory of him. And I remember kind of being like, dude, calm down. Like, I guess, like, he had a long-distance girlfriend or something, and at the time, he was, like, upset. I think it was one of those where he's like, I have to call my girlfriend! Aww. And I was a little bit, like, I didn't know who he was, either, so it was just kind of like, oh, this dude from New York is, like, really hyper. Like, chill, dude.
I remember seeing him.
He was so funny, though.
I would see him at Improv Shakespeare before, because when I was still in college, I loved Improv Shakespeare.
Yeah, I used to watch it a lot, too.
And I loved that he brought always these weird characters into it. Like, he'd bring, like, a weird, like, he'd be the crazy, you know, lady at the edge of the woods, or the, you know, the fire nymph, or whatever, something crazy and weird and kooky.
My favorite was definitely, I mean, I was interning, so I was interning Baby Wants Candy, and then I became the associate producer of it, which was really neat. Like, all this happened, and then I was like...
When were you associate producer for it?
Like, 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2010, 2011. Like, I was graduating college when I had this job.
That's great.
And I remember, like, my advisor, because I was supposed to do, like, a proper internship through the school, and he was like, nah, you don't need it. You're kind of, like, doing your own thing. And also, like, I kind of think... Sometimes I'm like, oh, I wonder if they thought this was like a real job. And it was like a stipended job. Like, I got money, but it wasn't anything to live off of, because my school acted like, dude, you're good. Go on. Like, I graduated early. They just signed off on a shit ton of classes.
I graduated early too. So what happened was I had already planned. I took overload permits. I was like, I wanted to graduate early because I wanted to move to Chicago, because being out like DeKalb is fine. You know, it's just like so far away. I wanted to be doing my own stuff.
Yeah.
So I had kind of like I think my second year I started to plan that I wanted to graduate early. So I started taking I think even my freshman year, I took a couple classes that like my freshman year, like elective, or performance classes we had to have. Like, I remember I took a class, I think my freshman and sophomore year, the spring classes that like only usually juniors and seniors took, just so I could have that out of the way. So I had like 2 classes, and one was supposed to be a portfolio one, and one was supposed to be a different project. And I was like, look, I want to move to Chicago. I've done all these things. You know, here's my senior project. Will you let me just do this? And then they signed off, and I didn't have to do this.
I like got to create a class and then do like a one-on-one like independent study, and then they like signed off on other stuff. And then I remember I had my senior year, I had like I think I had 2 classes that I still had to take just as like a the gen eds or whatever. And it was a science course, and then some, like, I needed some additional social science course, which I was, like, kind of shocked by, because I felt like I'd taken a lot, but I guess none of them counted. So I took an African American Studies class, which was awesome. But then the science course I originally signed up for evolution, but I don't know if I said this, but I went to a Christian college by, like, accident. I, like, did not know that's how it was going to be. And yeah, I, like, really wanted to transfer out, but they immediately, and I guess my advisor, who was, like, the theater director, like, totally knew I wanted to transfer out. So they cast me as, like, a lead in the play immediately.
What?
And then I, like, couldn't leave.
That's hilarious. Wait, that's so funny. Yeah. So they're like, what can we do to get her to stay?
A friend of mine who was, like, a senior told me this, because he was like, yeah, he told me, like, he totally knows you want to leave. Like, he's like, oh, she reminds me of you. She's gonna leave. We have to, like, get her in here. And yeah, so I, like, we did Arcadia, and I got to be, like, Thomasina.
Oh, wow. So
it was dope.
Are you Christian now?
No. I grew
so
up
it didn't work.
I know, I grew up Catholic. Like, it was not, and I didn't know until I went to that school that that's not the same. I thought it was like, everyone believes in God, chill. And they were like, you're a devil. Catholics believe that Jesus is bread or some shit. Like, they had issues with Catholicism that I did not know about.
Oh, my dad's Catholic, so I went to a Catholic grade school from kindergarten through third grade, and then I went to a different school, that was not Catholic, but then I went to, confirmation.
Yeah, I did confirmation,
in 8th grade.
Yeah.
But I went through classes through, like, a church that, you know, wasn't part of my school, so it wasn't, like, part of the curriculum. Yeah, so I went, and I had a bunch of questions that they couldn't answer for me, and I think I had seen Dogma or something on TBS, and, like, asked them a bunch of questions, and so I told my parents, like, I don't know if I'm feeling this, like, because they can't answer my questions. They're like, that's fine. So
they let you not do it?
Yeah, they let me not do it, and then I went, like, for funsies, I started going to different things. I went to temple a couple times with my Jewish friends. I went to a Buddhist church. I went to Unitarian church for a little bit. I was, like, all about, like, trying to figure out what I believed in. And I think I found the closest was Taoist at the time.
Okay.
Which is more of a philosophy.
It's like a philosophy, yeah. My parents were very much like, they knew I didn't really agree with the Catholic Church, you know, throughout it. And my parents are pretty liberal, and they were just like, yeah, it's just a family tradition, so, like, you just have to do it to confirmation. Then you don't have to go if you don't want to, kind of thing. So that was fine. But that was also the thing where when I got to my college and people acted so freaking weird to me, I was like, I don't even care about this. Like, why are you guys making me defend it? And then it made me weirdly, like, more culturally Catholic, because they, like, kind of put me in a corner. You know?
It's like that defending thing. It's like
I had to defend it.
Like two enemies coming together because of a common, you know.
It was super strange, yeah, and I felt really defensive about it because they were so weird and so unwelcoming. Like, I did not anticipate that. I really was fucking wasps, man. Like, I thought they were going to be, like, chill and Christian, and they were, like, fearful and weird. But I couldn't leave because they kept putting me in all this stuff, you know what I mean? And kind of, like, nurturing my passions and my interests, because I was definitely, like, kind of black sheep of, you know, the school and the theater department a bit, because I was like the only one interested in writing, and North Park was really, really good at, like, giving people, like, kind of, like, they figure everyone here thinks they want to act, but they don't really, and then they'd be like, whoa, you're really good at, you know, designing,
and they help you find
shovel
that.
people in, but then people got hired. Like, I went to school, so many people that, like, that is their job now. But the whole time I was like, yeah, I just want to write. And like, okay, yeah, sure. So they were good at that. So I kind of stuck around for a long time. Yeah.
But that's good. Like, I mean, what I wish I had known when I was in school, and I've said this before too, is that I think about creating your own stuff. So, like, the way I was learned, you know, teaching is like, you audition for a role, and these are the probably the roles that you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. And now it's so different because you can cast yourself and stuff, and you can create your own stuff and write your own parts and do that. And I feel like I didn't have the confidence to do that really until I was doing stand-up. And I've been doing improv and sketch for, you know, it's just like, that's what I had learned in my head. It was like, oh, you audition for things and then you do them, and not like, no, we just get really fun people together and create your own thing. And then
performing alone, kind of like you're saying, traveling alone, gave me so much confidence in that area where I was like, oh, fuck, I can do anything.
Yeah, I don't
mind to.
I don't care about auditions anymore. Like, after stand-up and, like, all that, it's like, I don't care. Like, it's not a big deal.
I started in solo characters when I was making that transition over. And I was living in New York for a little bit. And yeah, I was living in New York for playwriting. And decided that I actually hate theater. I shouldn't say that because one of my plays is being in the fall for like the first time in 3 years. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta like care about theater again? Shit, that's gonna be weird.
Oh, are you involved in it or are they just producing?
I have to go to a couple rehearsals. I'm excited about it.
Who's putting it on?
It's actually the director, the advisor I was talking about. He was like, I want to do one of your plays for the school. And I'm like, that would be cool if any of them work out. And so doing one of them, and it was really interesting because I was like, I actually haven't touched one of my plays in like years.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. Like, I was very much doing that.
You were a playwright.
Yeah,
okay.
I was very much doing that and doing a lot of it. And that's why I came to New York. Like, this Spanish repertory theater had, like, one of my plays was, like, was the runner-up for, like, one of their awards. And when I went out to see the reading and all that stuff, they were like, you should come here. Like, seriously. Like, you can have an internship. Like, all that kind of stuff. So they were really nice to me. But I was just like, man, the attitudes in the theater world just turned me off, you know? And, like, I don't take things seriously enough to go through that. But editing something that I wrote when I was like 23 recently was very interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's so weird to look back and even just like notes or thoughts, like, you know, it's just like I look back at myself and sometimes I'm just like, why was I worried about that stupid thing? It's like I don't know.
Right. So I was in New York and didn't know anybody creatively, like didn't have any friends. I didn't move with any friends. Like, people, you know, we meet stand-ups that move together and I'm just like, man, I didn't move with anybody. I didn't move with anybody or anything. I just went there. I didn't have any friends there.
Well, I didn't really know many people. I mean, I guess I knew some people from my improv classes, kind of, but I didn't like have any family here or anybody like.
Yeah, I had my cousin who now lives here, and we're really close. We're like best friends. He lived in New York, and that was it. That was all I had. So that was cool, and he used to go to a weekly stand-up show at Matchless, which it's still there. It was Michael Che's show and Nimesh Patel. And he would go every single week just to watch. So I would go with him. And I was like, well, stand-up is actually pretty dope. Like, actually, it's like pretty cool.
Yeah.
And in Chicago, I had taken all the improv classes, right? So I was like, I'm not going to spend money at UCB. Like, in UCB, the improv classes cost like $450.
Oh, wow.
No joke. They start out at $400.
That's so much.
It's way too much. It's ridiculous. And it's like, yeah, you guys are going to sit there and complain about diversity, and we want it to be more diverse. And it's like, you are literally only available to the most privileged people of society.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Sorry, UCB. What? I can say it. I don't care.
She does not care if you cast her.
They won't. I don't live there.
Yeah.
And I didn't take your classes. But, yeah, but that was, like, how you got involved, right? In improv and stuff. And I knew improv was, like, an awesome way to meet friends, because that's what I did in Chicago. And UCB did hold, like, some open mics. And one of the open mics was a character open mic. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I can just start coming to that. So I started coming to that every single week. And that was my, like, gateway
Would you have different characters?
Yeah.
Every week?
I would do 2 characters. And I met, like, an awesome group of friends there. And we all started going, and it was, like, really supportive, because we were all, like, watching each other, you know, and be like, every week we'd, like, try something new and, like, work on the old thing we just did. And we were all we'd talk about it after, and it was, like, really exciting.
That's cool.
And I lived not far from Creek and the Cave.
Yeah,
like
I've been there.
Yeah, I lived, like, across the bridge in Greenpoint. So I eventually got a job.
So Creek and the Cave was always kind of a theater or performance venue.
Well, you know, I've only been back here for 2 years. So, so I wasn't there for even that long. I was there for more or less 2 years, and I started going to Creek in the Cave when I got a job in Long Island City, which is the same neighborhood it's in, and I started going to that every day because they had a mic every single day, and it was like, it was the worst mic that you could imagine. It was so bad.
Is it? Yeah.
It was so... Well, it was just brutal.
Yeah.
It was like all these dudes who you only saw there. It was that kind of mic. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize. Like, I had no context. You know, I was just like, well, I don't see these guys at the UCB mic, but whatever. This is the real deal New York City, baby. Mm-hmm. And I would go, and these guys would stand in the back, and they would, like, heckle everyone on stage.
What?
And no one would laugh. And I remember, like, the first laugh I got there, and I was like, I finally did it. And I finally, like, met Blair Saki, who's a comedian in New York, because she started working at the office with me. Mm-hmm. And I told her that I was going there every day. She's a stand-up comic. And she was like, Jesus Christ, you only go there? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, no, that is such a bad idea.
Oh,
and she started, like, I was like, okay, well, at Thursday we're going to a different mic. And she started taking me to different ones. And I was like, oh, people laugh at your jokes.
Yeah.
But, so that was kind of my, like, that was a long story. I don't even know how I started talking about it. But that was, like, how I started performing by myself and finding more confidence.
Yeah.
Because even that, when I was doing stand-up, it was just literally like, I'm just doing this until people at this mic start being friends with me. Like, I didn't think I was funny.
Well, I mean, it's so weird. And I had that feeling, too. Like, I think until I took that clowning class, I didn't think I was a funny person, like, in general. And then I was like, oh, I can be quirky. And then I was like, oh, I can be funny with an improv group or a sketch group. It's like the group gets the laugh.
Right. And they're helping you out.
Yeah. And then it's like, my whole thing was, it was like you had these groups of people, and we would have a run at the playground for 8 weeks, and then we'd have a run at Donnie Skybox, and then we kind of fall apart, and then there'd be another cycle of another group, and I was like, I want to perform every night.
For me, I was in a sketch group here for several years that was like pretty popular-ish, more milk, and I so believed in us, like we all did. We like so believed in us, and after a while, it was just like, man, nothing's happening. Like, we didn't believe in ourselves, like, enough. And, like, YouTube, I think, viral videos were not necessarily what they were quite yet.
Yeah.
Like, it was, like, just on that cusp. So, there was, like, one guy in the group who works for BuzzFeed now, so no duh. But he was, like, we gotta get online. Like, we gotta get videos online. And then the other dude, who works for Adam Sandler now, was like, no, I don't want to do that. Because once it's out there, you know, and it has to be perfect. And they had this argument all the time until we just broke apart. And we have nothing. Like, we don't have anything online. And that was like 3 years of my life. And I thought it was going to be the real deal. Like, I was like, Worm Milk's going to be fucking famous. Like, we're going to get a TV show. And we could barely get reviewers to come to our shows. Like, we couldn't get even that much, you know? And it's so hard. It's so hard.
It is. It's really hard. And
especially
that's sad.
Yeah, it is sad, because I'm like, that was, like, still some of the best sketches that, like, I've certainly ever done. And it's just like, just a blip in your life. You just move on.
And you know, like, but that's the thing. Like, and so for me, I wanted to be able to perform every night if I wanted to, or do something. And so that's why one night I was like, oh, I'll just go to I'll Google the closest open mic and go. And I didn't know anybody. I was like, I think I got 4 5
Were
minutes.
you scared when you went to your first open mic?
Not really. I'd seen a lot. Okay, here's what happened was 6 months before then, I dated a guy that said he was a stand-up. He wasn't a stand-up.
That's how it always happens.
He was a guy that was, he was a guy that you wouldn't even know his name. Like,
my first boyfriend was wannabe stand-up.
And I went with him to, I went with him to Three Dead Moose.
Oh, okay.
I saw him do stand-up. And I remember,
Sunday nights,
this is before anybody, so it was before anyone knew who I was. And I remember, I forget who was. Reno wasn't hosting that night, but it was someone else. But anyways, he, you know, went up and he did all right. But then, like, on the walk home, I told him, I was like, hey, I have ideas for these. Like, I was giving, I didn't know what tags were at the time, but I was giving him tags. And I was like, oh, well, you could make this joke this much better if you did this and this and this.
He hated that.
He probably fucking hated it.
Wow, yeah.
Well, I don't give a shit.
No, I know. I just been like, I'm sure his fragile ego was like, hell no.
Well, yeah. And the thing is, like, I've seen him go up a couple times, but, like, he has the same jokes he had 3-4 years ago.
Sure,
you know?
sure, yeah.
And that's fine. Like, whatever. He's fine. I wouldn't consider him a stand-up now.
Sure,
you know, like, he's not someone that you see around or you would know. But, like, I think it's, like, someone that goes up, he decides to do a mic, like, once every couple months.
My first boyfriend, when I, like, serious, you know, boyfriend, I was, like, 19, serious, and he was 21. I remember thinking he was so cool because he dropped out of college to move to Chicago to be a stand-up comic. But I couldn't even go to the bars, right? Like, I was too young to see him do stand-up. So I had no idea. Like, I was just like, he's telling me he's funny.
Oh, my gosh.
And he broke up with me because he said, like, he wanted to date someone who was funny, like how he's funny, like someone that does stand-up. And that little bitch doesn't do it now. Of course he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so often I'm just like, I hope that somewhere he sees some tags. Someone tagged me on Facebook in something that he used to, like, be involved with. And he's like, no!
But I think the reason I wasn't that nervous is because I'd seen him do it, so I kind of knew what it was about. And I know, like, at least I knew, like, because I'd taken Second City writing classes and things like that. Like, I knew how to kind of write a punchline. I'd still...
Yeah.
And I'd been performing since I was, like, 5. So, like, so I was a bit more... you know, like...
Yeah.
I mean, I think I did get a laugh or two my first time, and that felt good. But, I mean... But then I had people afterwards. Like, I think Alex Selkson was there my first time, and Ashley Corby.
Okay.
And, like, they talked to me afterwards. And if... Honestly, I wonder, like, if there weren't any women in the room, and if they hadn't have said anything to me afterwards, I wonder if it would have been just a one-off thing, because they're like, because I was like, like, I felt like, because I was like, oh, I only got a couple laughs, but I didn't realize at the time that that's
Sometimes
pretty good.
You need that push. I mean, that's like, if Blair wasn't like, come to these other mics with me and my friends.
Yeah.
I was stuck in this room with these horrible guys. Like, who knows how long I would have done it.
And that's kind of what I look back, and I was like, wow, I'm lucky, like, I had, you know, those women in the room, and they're like, no, you should come back and keep doing it.
That's why it's so important for women to support each other in comedy and not try to be competitive. Like, I mean, in the early days of improv, when I was doing it at Annoyance, I was, like, baffled by that. Because, like, again, I was just kind of in it because I wanted to meet friends who were funny. Well, you mentioned a little bit even, like, with you watching that boyfriend do stand-up. There were a couple times when I was dating guys, like, because I did, you know, like, some improvisers when I did improv. And I always, like, I just felt like, whenever I felt like I wasn't confident in myself, I would kind of be like, maybe I should try stand-up. Like, maybe that make me more confident. And I was in, like, a really controlling relationship for, like, a year.
Those
and
aren't good.
It was bad. And kind of why I stopped doing improv, really. Like, he kind of did that thing where they, like, isolate you and force you to quit everything. You know, like, that really chill move.
Yeah,
but,
like that cult people do? Like the one-on-one cult thing?
Oh, for sure. It's so great. It's, like, such a cool move to manipulate you. But it's one of those things too when you're in it and you feel like, I think something's wrong. I think I don't have my own voice anymore. I think I don't have my own opinion, my own independence. And the first thing I thought of to get out was like, I should try stand-up. Because stand-up will force me to speak what I think and feel into a microphone. And I said that to him. I was like, I think I want to go to this open mic that I found. I think I was like CIC or something like that. I was like, I think I want to go there. And he's like, I really just don't think you'd be good at stand-up. Yeah, and he, like, dissuaded me from doing it and was like, everyone would laugh at you for the wrong reasons. You would not be good at it. You wouldn't be funny.
Oh, my God.
And he's like, you're a writer. You should just stick to that. Like, he just really wanted me to stay home and write and not perform. Like, he was kind of one of those weird guys.
He wanted to be in the spotlight.
Yes, he wanted to be in the spotlight. He was, like, an actor. And he also didn't like the idea of, like, people watching his woman on stage.
And also the fact that he felt like you were his woman, that you were his property.
Yeah, exactly. So thank God that ended. But
and now you write for Reductress, right? Which is a magazine that's a very online.
I contribute to Reductress, the Whiskey Journal. I'm a staff writer for that.
But Reductress is mostly like feminist women.
It's feminist,
feminist style.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't say parody, but
it's satire.
Satire, I'd say, yeah.
It's mostly feminist satire. And it's really fun, and there's like a cool community of women that write for it. And it's like, even if we don't all know each other, you know, because it's like mostly online based, we all kind of like trust each other and each other's opinions. When you like meet somebody who does write for Reductress, it's like really neat.
Yeah. How did you get from the comedy doing that to writing? Or were you always doing the writing, like, as you were...
I think, like, the characters helped me do that because, I started doing that character mic, and, like... I take that back. Like, I started writing my first independent stuff when I was in Warm Milk, and I had this... I remember telling them, like, I was nervous to be like, I don't want to do something by myself because I want to do everything with the group.
Because the group is so fun, and you're all my best friends, and we're going to be friends forever.
I remember, like, being on the train and being like, I just have this idea. Because at my college graduation, we had, like, this college pastor, and she gave, like, the weirdest speech, like, at my graduation. Because it sounded like she was trying to be, like, a youth pastor, and I'm like, we're all, like, 22. And you're, you know, talking like you're talking to 12-year-olds. And I kind of wanted to do that, and my friends were like, yeah, you should do that, like, for real, like, do it in our show. And so that was the first time I did stuff independently, was with their encouragement. Again, like, sometimes you just need that little bump. And then when I was doing more character stuff too, I started writing stuff down, and my friend Justin had something published in a now defunct website called Trop. Yeah, it was called Trop. And he wrote, like, a satire piece. He put that online, and I was like, yo, what is this? Like, I had no idea that, like, humor writing was a thing, right? And he's like, yeah, dude, you should totally submit. Like, it's great. Comedy studies buddy. And creator of the show Wrecked. So everyone should check that out. It's a funny show. But yeah, he's like, here's the information. Submit. So I wrote down, like, one of the things that I had been working on at the mic, and I submitted it, and it got published. Oh, wow. And started kind of doing that from there. And when I started doing that mic, one of the guys that I met was, like, a kind of a regular McSweeney's dude. And he, like, very New York, like, one night after the mic, you know, I'd been there for, like, 3 weeks or something. He's like, yeah, I'm going to this, like, McSweeney's reading. Do you want to come with? And I'm like, yeah, totally. That sounds awesome. And we, like, took the train and went to Dumbo, and it was at this bookstore that had a chandelier, and that really stuck out to me because I was like, what the fuck? It's like an old warehouse. It's got a chandelier. Like, it's crazy.
Like, this is New York, baby. Like, this is why I moved to New York, baby, right?
Every now and then you definitely had those moments there where you're like, this is it. This is the city. The city of dreams. Like, one of my last nights there, it was, I was at TJ Miller's sister's house. Okay. And we went to her rooftop, which was in the, like, the Lower East Side, and you could, like, see, you know, the whole city. It was really gorgeous. And she, like, was, like, passing out this bottle of wine. She's like, everyone has to take a sip and tell everyone, like, your biggest fear. And it was so weird. I was like, this is like camp. Like, this is like, but it's New York, baby. Like, yeah, it's like, that was one of my big issues with New York, is like, everyone kind of had their, like, this is my personal narrative, and you're just a character in it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, okay.
I'm Hannah, and you're the other girl.
Right, yeah. Like, everyone was, I just felt like so many things were, like, affected, and I'm like, we could just hang out on their roof. That's really cool. But yeah, so my friend Paul, took me to that, and I got really inspired, like, watching all these people read. Like, the dude that wrote that piece, It's Decorative Gourd Season, motherfuckers, he read that, and I remember being like, dude, I want to tell that guy how great it was. And my friend's like, just talk to him. And I was like, I can't. Like, I'm super shy about stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't. And he's like, you're on his level. Like, you can do it. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not on his level. Like, I used to be so intimidated by people. But yeah, I found it really inspiring, and kind of, like, talk to him about submitting, and really it's just a matter of, like, finding the submission info and then submitting. Like, I probably submitted headlines to Reductress, like, 3 times before I got something accepted. And then from there you're kind of, like, in the loop and can submit. But I still get stuff rejected all the time. Like, I mean, that's a part of this.
That's one thing I think that keeps comedians, like slightly humble. I know some people still get egos, but it's about, like, you can perform in front of a 600-person theater one night and then go to an open mic the next night with, like, 12 people.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? And so I think that level of...
and bomb.
Constant... Like, and bomb.
At an open mic.
And you could be like, that joke worked in front of 600 people last night. Why didn't it work? You know. But, like, the point is...
That's always I think. It's like, why do you guys hate me?
Yeah. I think that's what's cool about comedians, is we all kind of understand that, like, general level that kind of keeps us balanced. Like, if we're doing too good, like, I'll go to a rougher mic do that and be like, okay, like,
I feel like I never have momentum. You know, it's like, at any point where you think that you're on top, like, something's gonna come crashing down very shortly.
Oh, yeah.
After.
What is it? It's either, like, career successful or your relationship's gonna crash or something like that.
I guess. I feel like everything happens all at once, too. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you get accepted into literally everything. And, like, I became a producer for CHuC and a cast member for Lincoln Lodge in, like, the same week.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it was, like, all of a sudden, everyone was like, oh, who's this big shot? And then I'm like, you know, like, a month later, I was dumped. Not even. I think, like, a week later, I was dumped. You know, it's that kind of thing where I was just like, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it's just, the universe is all about balance.
Yeah, it is. And you gotta not stretch yourself too thin with stuff, too, yeah.
No, I'm a big believer in that, too, especially, like, having done it now. I've been around comedy for long enough, and I feel like when you start, too, like, when I started improv, it feels like it's your whole life, you know, and you go through that. Yeah. And you kind of realize, like, it can't be, you know? Yeah,
improv, you can't make a living off doing it. And there are some great improvisers, and I love, like, I don't, well, I mean, I've done it a couple, it's a great tool. I like it to use it as a tool to write. I prefer having something I can repeat and make better and make, you know what I mean? Like,
or it's just a matter of finding, like, your medium, too, because it's like, I really like doing improv, and I had a lot of fun doing it and got a lot of laughs, but, like, I never made a Herald team, and I remember, like, when I was doing it, I was like, that's like the end-all be-all, and all my friends are on Herald teams, and they're all, like, passing me up and all that kind of stuff. And then after I finally started doing, like, solo performance and stand-up is when I was like, oh, well, actually, this makes more sense for me, you know? And it was like, I was funny, but that wasn't, like, the method at which I was, like, I don't know, you know, the funniest.
No,
or whatever.
I get what you mean. Yeah. And I think improv for me can be really fun with the right people, you know? But I think, like, I don't know, I like creating different types of things personally, you know? And so, like, I like stand-up. I don't know, I like being able to write and work on things and be better, you know?
I love to be better.
Like, I try to just get better. That's the only thing.
Hot take about me is I love to get better.
I love to get better.
The thing about me
is I love to be funnier and have...
I love to be funnier. Yeah. Actually, I think I'm funny enough.
Yeah.
I'm good. No.
Yeah. You're like, no more mics. Or so, like, I don't need it. There are some people out there that think that they're like, oh, I don't need to go to mics anymore. I don't need to do this. And it's, like, crazy.
Yeah, it's also, it's like that idea of someone that's like, I have a doctorate, I don't need to keep reading about this. You know, it's like, you should always kind of be learning. And, I mean, I understand, too, like, I don't go to as many mics as I used to. Like, I don't have the time. But, I still try to make time.
And the same with me, too. I took a month, I took probably about 5 or 6 weeks off, where I was still doing stuff occasionally, but I wasn't, like, hitting it hard because I had the web series. So it's like, I had stuff I had to work on, but I had to focus something. And so it was like... And I was kind of like, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it because I hadn't really taken a break like that before. And so, but now it's like getting back into it. It's like trying to just get that muscle again.
Yeah.
It's nice to have the break though because you have more shit to talk about. Like, I've actually...
That's what I was saying about vacations. I'm like, people should take time off. You should absolutely take time off. It's like anything else. It's like any job. You can love your job, but you still have a week of vacation that they give you that you should take. You know, it's that kind of thing. Like, you have to recharge your brain. You know? You gotta do it. You gotta read something. You gotta do something different. You just gotta, like, stimulate yourself.
That's good.
Stimulate.
Is there a special tea you take to stimulate your brain when you're writing?
I like green tea. I drink a lot of green tea.
You like a lot of green tea?
Yeah, I love green tea.
Wow.
It's great.
So are you like do you drink though? Like
I do. I don't think anywhere near the amount that people we know do. I'm like very much lightweight, so I don't like it. And I don't like being out of control. And as like a creative person, I really don't like that. Like I don't like not being able to use my brain. So and also for the next day, it's like I want to be awake and I want to work on stuff. That's what I'm always thinking. There's that one Onion article that's something like the dude almost has fun at a party or something weird like that. And I feel like that's me because I'm like, you know, and it's honestly it's something I feel bad about a lot of the time.
Why?
Because so many comics act like being social is how you get places, but that's just never been my MO. Like I would much rather work. I would much rather, you know, sit down and write something. And I understand, again, it's a balance, but like...
But you're also a working writer.
Right. So it is my job.
And that's also different because a lot of people we have, you know, 9-to-5s or projects, you know, and like... I like trying to find their own way to get to where you're working at it.
Yeah.
And so then that's also different because you've got a different... You're a professional writer, you know.
Yeah, and for sure, I think I used to like when I had day jobs and stuff, I would... feel like, I'd go into the office super tired or feeling shitty or sick or whatever. And now I take way better care of myself now because I'm like, well, sometimes every minute counts, you know, because I just have too many projects to do. You know, and like I have kind of like a relaxing week right now, but like the last like month I had like 4 different jobs, you know, it's just, that's like the nature of it. But that being said, so like sometimes I'll be out with friends and just like, I gotta go home I gotta work on whatever it is, you know? I can't afford it, you know?
That's what it was like for the web series.
Yeah.
Like, we were meeting, like, every night, working on it but ahead of time before we were shooting, and, like, it's just, like, we'd devote, like, every extra second we had to, like, working towards it, and it was, like, so much work. But
I think I only had, like, when I did comedy studies, again, you know, your study abroad is on your loose, baby. That was, like, the one time I partied, really. Like, I've never really been much of, like, a party animal because I've literally always been like working on something, you know, like I used to write for fun, so I've always had that where I'm like, well, I have this even though I didn't have like actual deadlines. I had like fake deadlines.
So if someone gave you an assignment like, hey, you need to write about being drunk,
then
I've
never been blackout drunk because I like don't I really don't like that not being in control.
I mean, I don't think anyone likes being blackout drunk. I think
but they like get to that point. Like I can't.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, there's like
I had Jonah Jerkins on. He told me so many
to that
stories.
Episode, actually,
and I was like, oh my gosh, so many stories.
And like my boyfriend hangs out with Jonah a lot, and every time he hangs out with Jonah, he's like, Jonah's trying to get me drunk. He's like, it's like that's his favorite thing to do. He loves to do it, and I just am not that way, and I also don't. You know, and I know a lot of times, like, I mean, I'm not, like, trying to judge anybody here also. I'm not being like, I'm good and everyone's bad. But I know a lot of friends are like, oh, I can't say no, or like, oh, I'm here at the bar, and I've just never been that way.
No, I mean, I'll say no if I don't want, you know, like, because I take medicine at night that I can't always take with stuff, so that's my immediate kind of excuse, but I also find that I like having that social aspect, so that's why, you know, I'll do I'll do that.
I love a tiki bar. Like, if anyone ever wants to go to a tiki bar with me,
Lost Lake.
I fucking love it. I love it. I love Lost Lake. I love tiki bars. But again, I'll have one drink and then I'm like, woo, who's here to party? You know, that's all I need really, which is cheaper, but
you're a cheap date.
I am pretty cheap. And my boyfriend doesn't really drink either, so it's like kind of nice because it's just like, I don't feel like, oh, I gotta wait around for him to be too drunk to, like, drive us home or something.
Well, I just also think because we're around alcohol so much, it's like I only pick, like, 1 or 2 nights that I'll drink. Mm-hmm. So that also, like, keeps wallet in check, keeps a few things in check. But it's like, because if I'm going to bars every single night, like, you can't have a drink at every... First of all, you can't afford that. Secondly, it's just, like... Not even just like calories and all that, and also just like being, like you said, in control.
Too. I used to be an athlete. I used to do taekwondo.
What?
Yeah, and I like competed at a very high level. So I'm also alcohol wasn't around me when I was growing up. My parents didn't drink. They just didn't like it. It wasn't like a religious reason. So I never had any reason to think alcohol bad. You know, like it was just like, oh, it's not around. And then when I was doing taekwondo, it was like, well, those are empty calories. So it was like. Everything I grew up with alcohol was like, you don't really need it, you know, and it was just that attitude. So I still have that, and like, I eat fairly healthy, but like, I love sweet treats.
I have a sugar too, too. And I've been like, I did like a no sugar, no carb thing, which was like so hard.
It's so hard.
I did no processed sugar, so I had like fruit and stuff. But that was leading up, and that's how I lost a bit of weight. And then I've been slowly incorporating like a little bit of carbs, a little bit of stuff, but like a little bit of sugar. Clearly, but it was really hard because I was like hard on it for like a couple months, and that's how I lost weight. You know. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I know everyone like loses weight on it and stuff, so I'm just like, but I like it. But it's like my one vice. That's how I look at it.
I mean, I still like I didn't still like finding like the ice cream that only has like 6 grams of sugar per the thing. It's like it's so hard, but like sugar is such an addiction. It's like 5 times more addictive than cocaine.
But I think I view it that way, where I'm like, well, I'm not gonna have this beer, but because I want a sundae. Yeah. You know, like
because I want gummy bears. I love being adults and being like, hey, I want gummy bears at 5 a.m. Let me get it.
That's the cool thing about being an adult that no one tells you is like you can have candy whenever you want.
Yeah, and you don't have to like go to the dentist and feel ashamed.
You don't have to go to the dentist ever.
You don't have to go to the dentist at all. You don't.
You don't have to. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
I have a question. So would you have any advice for people that are trying to be like full-time comedy writers or freelance?
Yeah, I mean, people ask me that a lot, and that's always such like a difficult question for me to answer, just because I'm like, well, what do you have right now? Because, like, it's not like I was just like, oh, I'll quit my job and here I go. Like, I had, like, a couple years worth of a portfolio, you know?
Yeah.
So what I always tell people first, if they don't have something like this, is to, like, start a blog. Mm-hmm. Start, like, a weird, quirky blog. Like, I started one that was, like, it was called Misunderstood Connections, and I took, like, I, like, wrote Craigslist misconnections. So I did that for a little bit, and then did those things I was talking about, where I, like, did, you know, the trop thing and stuff like that, and then I knew somebody that started a website called Modern Notion, and I wrote for them for a little while, which was, like, history stuff, and it was, like, obscure history, which I love, so I messaged her and was like, hey, I have this idea for a story, like, who do I talk to? Did that, she loved it, so she's like, if you have anything else, please send it my way. So I just kept doing that. And that's kind of how all of this works. It's literally like I asked my friend Justin, what's this? He gave me the information. I did that one. They liked the piece. I was able to submit another. It kind of snowballs, but it doesn't snowball if you don't start it.
Yeah. You can't start a snowball without any snow.
Yeah. You have to already be doing the work. And you have to already do it.
And are you also trying to write scripts as well, or are you mostly?
Yeah, so I have. Wait, what do you mean?
Like pilots or?
I have a pilot with Dylan Diatlo right now, called Homeless, that we've had like a bunch of readings for. We'd like to make like a teaser trailer for it or something, but we're kind of not sure what the next steps for us are right now. Just because like. Personal life stuff, so it's like, yeah, maybe we'll do this now, maybe we'll do it some other time, but so I have that with him, and I really like that, and I mean, I have scripts. I just sometimes, when it comes to TV stuff, don't know what to do with them, because I feel like a proof of concept is so necessary. You know, like you're talking about your web series, like I feel like that's like such a great avenue to go in.
It is a lot of work. It's a ton of work. I will say it's a ton of work, but I think it's worth it, because if you don't have a name yet, or you don't have like a big name attached to something, if you want to get something seen, or if it's something also that's harder to understand, and that's where I look at the people that have done it, and so many, even from Chicago, you've got teachers, you've got Brown Girls, you've got,
Shrink.
Broad City, Shrink, you've got, Idiot Sitter, you've got fucking Drunk History, you've got many of those.
Drunk History was a web series.
And Workaholic started as a web series, and what is it, High Maintenance as well. Like there's
it did start as a web series.
So many started, and because it's like proof of concept to show what it is.
It's just easier. It's like as dumb as it's easier to watch than read. Like that's as much as it is. Like that's what my
you don't have to have imagination to watch.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. All the jokes are there,
Yeah. Dylan and I like talk about that a lot with like our script, because it's like anyone who's read it really likes it. So that's promising, because we're a little bit like we haven't gotten into any festivals, although
script festivals are tough. And
there's so many,
because that's why I haven't been submitting I haven't submitted to Comedy Fest, because all my money's been going to script fest.
That's what I was about to say, is we've only submitted to 3 because they're fucking expensive.
I know. I think we submitted our script, I think, to 3, but then we also submitted to the fellowships that were free, which is nice.
That's cool.
That's nice that those are free. But I think we submitted to 3 or 4 maybe, but then we're gonna submit the actual web series when we have it done.
Yeah,
so that's even more money,
right? But then it's just easier to watch than read, because that's the thing. Like anyone, even so, this play even that North Park is doing in the fall, playwriting was the exact same way, And I remember, like, Lewis Black, I found out, started as a playwright.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He has an episode of WTF where he talks about it, and I love this quote from him, because I was listening to it while I was, like, in the midst of all this stuff, and I was like, this is so fucking true. It was like, you could faster put a message in a bottle and throw it in the sea, and it would get read faster than any American play. Like, people don't read. Like, it's as simple as that. And the play that I'm doing for North Park, like, it was always my favorite. And I always knew, I was like, I don't think anyone's reading it. I think it's as simple as that. I just think no one has read it. And there was like it got nominated for an award in like, maybe this is 2010? No, 2011. For the Susan Nim Award. And I couldn't attend the conference that it was going to be at. So they were like, oh, we have to withdraw it, so it can't win. So, and I was like,
sucks.
that's okay. And then they were like, this is one of the nicest things anyone ever said for me, so I'm not, like, trying to brag. This is just, like, the only compliment I've ever gotten. The guy, after I got off the phone with him, he was like, oh, my assistant asked me, like, what that phone call was about, and she said that she was really bummed because she wanted to meet you because that was the favorite play that she had read this year.
Aww.
And that was that feeling where I'm like, I fucking knew it! I knew no one was reading this! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, sometimes you just know that you're like, and that's kind of how I feel about Homeless. I'm like, I think it's good. I think it's a really good script.
Do you have a role that you wrote for yourself in there, or no?
What's that? Yeah, we wrote for ourselves, which is wise.
I think that's very wise. Yes, I think everyone should do that. If you're writing a pilot,
used to do that, and everyone should do that.
Yeah, if you're writing a pilot, write at least a role for yourself in there, because if you're not gonna, like write it for yourself. Yeah.
I mean, I was at Second City in the house company for a year and a half, and I wrote so many sketches for other people, and one of the directors there was like, you really have to stop doing that. Like, no one knows. And I was like, she's right. Like, people would go to the show, and the way Second City works, and the way a lot of things work, if people just kind of see you in it, and they're like, oh, you made that up.
Yeah.
They don't think that someone else wrote that. Yeah. So, I mean, I wrote like 60% of that House Co show at least, and it was like, yeah, why did I do that? Like, I wasn't in that.
It's something you learn, and then you start to write for yourself. But, like, also if I have a really funny idea for a sketch that has two guys, I'm not going to be in it, but, I can cast people,
Change the genders. That's also my advice to anybody who's like, how do I write for women? Just change, write your sketch, cast women in it. Boom. You just wrote for women.
Oh, yeah. How about that?
Boom.
That's awesome.
That's also something to learn, too, though, because, like, I mean, what's the word? Internalized misogyny is real. And when you start, you are very, like, I used to play all male characters because I thought, like, that was power.
I was talking to somebody recently. I remember I was thinking about, like, young comedy influences when I was young. My parents had HBO and Showtime in one of the rooms, and I used to take, like, a tape and just hit record randomly, and then take the tape back to my room and watch it because I couldn't.
That's cool.
Because I wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies. They were very strict. Strict on that. Yeah. They let me have a sip of beer when I was, like, 14, but, like,
Damn.
Different levels of strictness. Yeah. But anyways, so one of the things I recorded was Tracy Ullman's show.
Oh, cool.
And I thought it was so cool that she played that cab driver, and she played those different roles. She would play, like, male roles. And I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible till I saw that. And so that was an early one. And then another one I caught, I think on one of the other tapes, was John Leguizamo's one-man shows, Freak and Sexaholic.
Yeah.
And those, I was definitely too young to watch those, but but it was like, a very, like, different type of performance, like, showing that you can be funny and still make a point, and then, have those serious moments, and then...
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. But I love the idea of, like, playing men and that sort of thing. I think that's really cool.
I used to do it, like, exclusively in, like, improv.
All your characters, yeah.
Yeah, because it was, like, powerful. And when I did comedy studies, again, like, I was the only girl being cast for a little while, because the guys were like, oh, that's really fun, and they would write a sketch, and then they would just cast me in the male role. So it was literally like I played, like, a cowboy, I played, like, a CEO, I did, like, all these things. And finally, our, like, improv sketch director or whatever was like, it was like a frat house sketch, so it was, like, all the guys and me, and he was like, there's just no reason why Stephanie's character has to be a guy. Like, why isn't it just a girl? And no one really knew what they were talking about. And then that was something someone else in the class was like, yeah, Stephanie's in all these sketches, but, like, she's a guy in all of them. And I was kind of upset that people were saying all that, because I was like, I want to be in these, and these are fun roles. But now I'm like, oh, I get it. They were saying, like, this CEO could still be a woman. Like, why are we treating it like it's a girl? She can be the exact same character. She's just named Denise instead of Richard,
That's why I appreciate it. I'm in a weekly show, POV, at I.O. with Michael McCarthy directing. And so we have a team of writers, and it's very kind of fun, because there's one writer, I think it's Sean Clayton. He sometimes puts, like, it'll be like a policeman, and he's actually put, like, male or female, he'll put, like, hey, this can be either one, or things like that. And it's like, And that's still appreciated because sometimes it's like so many times it's like so many characters are like all male or things like that, or it's like But I remember one time somebody else wrote like the doctor. It was like 2 doctors. It was like doctors can be women. And we're like, yes, people should just. You don't have to write that, but thank you for writing that in the sketch.
The
but you don't have to
be women. And try to do androgynous names if I can too, even just to like all my characters are named Alex, just so that
I was obsessed with androgynous names when I was growing up because I always wish I had like one.
Yeah, cool.
That was like cool, you know, because I had a friend named Dallas, and her younger sister was named Michael.
Oh,
and like
nice.
both of those names are very like androgynous. You know, like,
I knew a girl Ryan, and I remember being like, "That's so cool."
Yeah, I was like, or like a girl Dylan. You know, I just thought I knew a Jamie too, and I was like, oh, Jamie, because she was like a cool girl. Like I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, very cool, very hip, very trendy.
Cool. Well, as we're winding down the podcast, I always ask people, what are your like dreams for the future for yourself?
Dreams. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd love for this pilot to get made. I'd love for that to happen. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dreams have always just been to live off of my writing. So it's kind of cool that I am able to do that right now. So it's just like an expansion of that, you know? So it's like, well, I'd love to live off more creative writing, right? So like I've been working on a book for a while, and I'm editing it, and like
writing a book.
Yeah, and I really love to get that published. You know, it's been something I've been working on for a little bit.
Is it like a memoir or like a novel, or
it's like a collection of essays, kind of about my hometown.
Oh.
So my hometown, New Lenox, Illinois. It was named, I think in 2015 or 2014, the most boring town in Illinois.
Oh.
Yeah. And
more boring than normal Illinois?
Apparently. It was the most boring in Illinois. And I was surprised. I thought it was hilarious. I was surprised to see that a lot of people I grew up with were offended. They were like, no, New Lenox rules, you know, kind of thing. And like offended by their boring town. And so that kind of got me thinking like, oh, that's so strange, you know? And then it's like this idea basically is like, you know, every place is interesting, you know, every place has its stories. So I really dug deep into like the history of the town, and it's kind of like a funny retelling of the history mixed with some of my like personal growing up stories. Because it's a weird place, you know. Yeah. It's like it's a weird place, but it's also like a slice of Americana. It's a weird place. It's a unique place, but it's probably also like the same as everyone else's growing up experience in a lot of ways. So that's kind of what it's about. A little bit in a nutshell.
I can see how people will be offended. I feel like boring. To me, I have a thing.
If anyone wants to publish that, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Please, if you're listening.
Yes.
Talk to me.
We're putting
Talk
it
to me,
out there.
goddammit.
Yes. I think that I think like boring is like the worst insult, like in my head. Like if somebody called me boring, that'd be like the worst thing. Like in my mind, I feel like that, like, love me, hate me, I don't care, but like don't call me boring.
It's hard to meet someone who is truly boring.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so everyone's got their weird redeeming qualities, you know?
Yeah. That's true.
But then every now and then you do meet someone who's like aggressively boring, and that's like, oof.
Yeah.
How do I get out of this conversation?
I know, I can't be around those people. I would just fall asleep mid-conversation.
Yeah, all right. You can fall asleep mid-conversation. That's great. Well, social media, too, it's like no one feels boring, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has a platform.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I guess you are what people perceive you as.
Yeah, so. Everyone's watching you.
Yeah.
Is how it feels.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And we always say,
Sarah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Stephanie Weber. You can check Stephanie every Tuesday at CHuC and follow her on Instagram and Twitter, Steph_Eloise. This podcast is part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. We're brought to you by Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can find out more on sleepingwithsarah.com. And please follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.
Sleeping with Sarah.